Hello, Spokane. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Krista Farr. I am here with my husband, Aaron Farr, and Katie Isaac. We are all licensed real estate agents here in Spokane. And today we are going to talk about how to flip a house because as real estate agents and investors ourselves, this is a question that we get asked every single day.
Aaron, you guys are called the Chip and Joanna of Spokane very often. I hear it from all of my friends who have been following you guys on social for years, and just knowing you guys do flips. So how did you get started with all of that?
Yeah, I may look a little bit like Chip, but there's definitely some people in Spokane that flip way more houses than we do. But we do flip houses, and how I got started in real estate was doing just that. I wasn't really originally interested in being an agent, but I knew the benefits of getting licensed, and I figured that could help me find more houses and sell them when I completed them. So about, 3.5, 4 years ago, Krista, we got started on that journey.
Let's talk about how we got started because, flipping a house, you have to have money, right? So we actually sold a piece of property that we had on Ponderay River. And it was heartbreaking to me. And I didn't understand at the time, why Aaron wanted to sell our river property.
Sacrifices.
I know. So we actually took the profits from that sale. And that is how we started flipping a house.
And I think also, like many people, we were interested in flipping probably because of HGTV. I mean, where else are you exposed to it other than there, unless you know somebody that's flipping? And I really didn't. I saw people from afar on social media flipping, but I really had no close relationships doing it. So I was going in sort of blind, but also had some understanding of how construction worked and all that.
Yeah, and we were flipping, we wanted to make a profit. So we wanted to flip a house and earn money. That's ultimately what we wanted to do. And then we wanted to take that profit and then go do another flip house. And we wanted that to snowball, and we wanted to keep making more money to have basically a nest egg to invest in bigger projects, years later. So
with that, it has snowballed for you guys. But when you're looking, somebody who's listening and just starting out, how do they even find that initial deal?
Yeah, finding the deal is the key component to this. It's the most difficult in this market. Like Krista said, we get people reaching out to us almost daily looking for not only a flip house, but a rental that may need some work. And the market is so tight right now that it's very, very difficult. But there's some key things that people can do to try and find or drum up a deal. One of the things that I did when I first started is I did what was called driving for dollars. It's talked about on a lot of investment podcasts. That's where I heard about it. And it's essentially driving through neighborhoods and identifying houses that the roof looks really bad. The lawn is 2 feet long. There's garbage everywhere. Yeah, it just looks like it really needs some help. And it's also probably a house that would have a difficult time getting a bank loan, and being sold on the open market. So there's actually apps out there. I think there's one called Driving for Dollars that you can utilize to mark these properties and then send them a letter afterwards.
Sure.
So that's, in my opinion, one of the best ways to get started is to find the deal yourself.
Yeah. Or you can use what's called a wholesaler, which we've done as well.
Yeah.
What is a wholesaler?
Yeah, you see those signs. It's not the only way wholesalers work, but most people have seen the "We Buy Houses Cash" signs around. Those guys are wholesalers. They're also sending out mailers quite often, letting people know that they'll pay cash and close in 7 days or whatever. And they're also cold calling certain lists, usually lists of homes that are in foreclosure, pre-foreclosure, bankruptcy situations. Just basically wholesalers are looking to find a home in distress.
Sure.
And they're not the good ones aren't trying to take advantage of people. They're just trying to make it a mutual beneficial
Because
thing
a
for
lot
both
of
parties.
some of the times, these homeowners, maybe they are in foreclosure or whatever. They need X amount of money to get out of their house, and a wholesaler will offer them the exact amount of money that they need to, get out of their house. Right?
Potentially.
Okay.
If it makes sense for the wholesaler.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the best wholesalers will ask the seller, what do you need out of this? And if that makes sense for all parties, then great. They put it under contract. I think one thing that people don't understand about wholesalers is that they don't actually typically close on the deal.
Okay, so how does that work? Like,
So
the wholesaler gets a house.
Yeah, they find the house, they put in an offer, get it under contract, and then they assign that contract to, let's say, somebody who wants to flip a house for a profit. So, for example, let's say they get it under contract for $150,000, and they contact the investor and say, I have a house that I will sell you or assign the contract to you for $170,000. And if it makes sense to you, then you decide to buy it and close on it. And the wholesaler makes the difference between the $150,000 and $170,000.
Okay.
And they do a lot of work to find these deals, so they deserve to make the profit that they do.
Yeah.
And with that, talking about the money aspect, Krista, you mentioned at the beginning that, you guys sold your piece of property. I think a lot of people have a hard time understanding, is it what kind of loan it looks like? Do I have to have cash down? So could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and also want to clarify that in my opinion, flipping is more so a job and a way to make money. It's not really investing because you're holding it for such a short time to make cash. It's not building long-term wealth. Like Krista said earlier, we were trying to snowball money so then we could go do bigger projects that we would then hold as rentals to make long-term wealth. So it's a tool. People that flip constantly over and over and over, it's their job is what it is.
Yeah.
But there's many ways to fund a deal. Quite often it's going to require cash. That is the most common way to buy these. The homes in distress, the banks won't give a loan on it because they're in such poor condition.
Sure.
Also, usually there's a desire to close quickly, and they're not going to wait for appraisals and the whole loan process.
Yeah.
So a lot of people would say, well, I don't have enough cash to do that. Well, there's other ways. There's something called hard money, and there's companies even here in town. The one I've been using is called Inland Capital, and they will do loans for this sort of scenario. Their interest rates are a bit higher. You're going to pay 10 to 12% interest. You're going to pay points. So each point is 1% interest.
Sure.
So if you pay 2 or 3 points on a loan, let's say that loan was for $100,000 and they're going to charge you 3 points. So there's a $3,000 fee on that.
To use their money.
Yeah.
Basically.
I mean, it's more expensive money, but it's accessible.
Yeah.
You can get it quickly if you're approved. They're looking more at the deal than they are at you. They will look at you some, but as long as it's a really good deal, then typically they're willing to loan, and you typically need only 10%.
Okay, so here's my question. Can somebody take that hard money and use it for the costs of materials for the renovations, or is that money just for the purchase of that property?
So some hard money companies are willing to loan on the construction costs as well. Typically, they don't like to do that as much with brand new investors who haven't done a project yet. They like you to put skin in the game. But they do that, and it's more expensive money. It costs more than the 10 to 12. Usually it's higher.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a separate side loan. But you can do it, and sometimes it might make sense. You just have to run your numbers, on your purchase price, the money costs, and we'll get into construction.
Yeah.
But there's also private money, and that would be like, got a rich uncle.
Yeah.
He's willing to loan you, $100,000, $200,000 charge 8% interest and call it good.
Sure.
And you don't have to pay them till the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I know people that have those sort of resources. If you do, wonderful. Good for you.
Yeah.
So that's one way. And then, you know, some people have a lot of equity in their home and they'll go get a line of credit set up.
Yeah.
So they have a couple $100,000 line of credit. They use that to buy the house, do the construction. When they sell the house, they pay the line of credit back down, go find another house. It's a wonderful tool.
Yeah, because a HELOC or a home equity line of credit is like a revolving.
You're only paying interest when you're borrowing
Yes.
the money.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
once you pay it off, it's sitting there ready to be used again.
Yep. Cool.
That's awesome. So diving into the construction and project part, I mean, you know, going into this your first time, how did you find your contractors? How did you figure out who to work with? What does that all look like?
Yeah. So finding contractors is the key.
Yeah.
And having good contractors is the key. I would say out of everything, you know, if you can find the deal, fund the deal, contractors or the construction process will be what can blow it out of the water and make it a big loss potentially.
Yeah.
So, you know, I came into it with some good contacts that I had just had that I was able to utilize. The contacts I didn't have that I needed is what I did is ask other investors and,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah.
got referrals like, you know, hey, who do you use for a plumber? And they say, oh, you got to use so-and-so. They've already gone through experiences with that plumber. So then we know
Yeah.
that they're probably going to be just fine.
Yeah.
Because these guys are working on these flip houses all day. Well, typically you're at your job or I'm out, like in my case, out selling real estate. I'm not there babysitting them. I have to make sure that I can trust them and that
Yeah.
they're doing a good job.
Yeah. And that's another thing is you really want to make sure that who you're hiring is going to do quality work. If you're doing a flip house, we've been in so many here in Spokane where it's almost embarrassing. We just cannot stress enough how important it is to do quality work if you're going to flip a house because it does matter.
Yeah, there's definitely a happy medium. You got to strike.
Yep.
People that go super cheap, it may have cost them less on the construction side, but they made less because it's obvious
Yep.
that it's poor quality
Yep.
and they're going to earn less when they sell it.
Yep.
Others, oftentimes designers, people who just love the process, love the look, and they buy stuff that's just way too expensive and they just overdid it. You know,
Yep.
they just did too much to the house for the neighborhood, let's say.
Yep.
So you got to find that happy medium. And how I did that is I think it's worth every penny to hire a good designer to come in and do a consultation.
Yeah.
It's not a full on drawn up design. That designer will just tell you what light fixtures to use, what paint colors to use, what cabinets and countertops and
Yep. And
all those things.
We use the designer. Their names are Cody and Carolina. They're with Curate in here in Spokane. They're on Instagram, Curate the firm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an investment.
Yeah.
That money that you spend with them, you will make more money. People, you know,
Yep.
just to be honest, our flips are pretty cool and it has to do with
Yeah.
the quality
Yeah.
and the design and the look.
The
I'm not
aesthetics.
just going to buy a light fixture at Home Depot.
No, because everybody buys a Home Depot light fixture.
Yeah.
Like,
You might still buy that light fixture on Amazon somewhere, but it's a nice light that has good design appeal and is still reasonably affordable.
yeah.
Yeah. The other thing in the construction process is speed.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Why is
Yeah.
speed so important?
Well, your money costs typically are expensive. Like if you got hard money. So that interest rate's running every month. So you need to move on it.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
why a lot of people go into these thinking, oh, this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to work on them on nights and weekends and do most of the work myself. That's a bad idea. Like maybe pick one thing or two things that you can do on the weekend
Yeah.
if you want to have your hands in it and do that. But hire out most of the work, in my opinion.
To make sure that it's something every hour of the workday is getting done.
On occasion, a contractor might want to flip a house. He's got all the skills, but then he has to evaluate, do I want to spend 40 hours a week at the flip? Would I make more money doing that? or will I make more money still doing contracting work for other people, where will I
Yep.
just hire subs?
Yep.
So I don't personally, I'm not that skilled. My only skill is I'm pretty good at demo.
You're good at getting your anger out.
Yeah, swinging a sledgehammer, maybe
Yeah.
some landscaping, but
Yeah.
everything else I hire out.
Yep. So let's talk, the house is done. You've done your thing. Let's talk about selling the house. What does that look like? How do you know how to price it? And that's,
It's another spot where some people think they're going to save money by for sale by owner, let's say, where they're not getting in front of 90% of the people that are looking on Zillow and the
Sure.
MLS and all these things. Just not as many people are seeing it. And I know that sounds kind of weird coming from a realtor. I don't really care if you do for sale by owner or not. But in my opinion, you're going to get more money, more offers
Yep.
if you're working with a realtor
yeah.
to sell your home.
Yeah. And I think another way to make more money on your flip, you've obviously done a very nice job renovating it. It looks great, but the space looks bare. I think staging your flip is so important. A staged home gets 17% more in an offer.
That much.
Yeah.
It's that much of it.
So, some people think staging is really expensive. Well, yeah, it's going to cost you money, but it could make you $5,000 more. It's so worth it to create that space when people walk in that they just melt and they can just feel the home. They don't just see, light fixtures and new paint and new flooring.
Yeah, one of our recent flips, it was in a neighborhood that you would think you typically wouldn't spend money on staging.
Yeah.
And we spent $900 on staging, and we got offers, $20,000 over ask price, one of the highest price or sold homes in that area ever. And I guarantee because of how awesome it looked.
Yeah.
And
We
who do we use?
Yeah. Her name is Amy, and she's with Spokane
Affordable
staging. Yeah. She's awesome. If anybody's looking for a stager, I would recommend her all day long.
Yeah, that flip, I watch my clients through it and
Yeah.
just how I think the nice thing, and I mean, especially when you're going through all these different flips and, there's a style that's very popular right now in terms of color of cabinets, similar light fixtures, but you guys, one, using designers, that sets you apart. And then two, just walking in and it feels like a home.
Yeah.
It doesn't just feel like, it's always great when you walk in and it's a blank space and you're like, oh, I can picture my life here. But especially if it's an older home with character that you've flipped. And so, maybe the space is just a little different in sizing. People can see that furniture can fit here and all of those things. I've realized that's people's hardest point is to see, can I even fit a piece of furniture in this room?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's awesome that you guys do that.
So just wrapping things up, I think being married to a flipper and kind of flipping myself here and there, I don't know. I think the biggest thing that I would tell people who want to flip a house is that it's not HGTV. It is nothing like what you see on TV. It's hard work. You can run into a lot of roadblocks that maybe you don't see. Things that cost $10,000 more when you open up a wall and you discover something. So it's not all fun and games. It's really important to make sure that when you're looking, for an investment property, that you're running your numbers, number one, and two, you understand that this is going to be very hard work.
Yeah, I think just people they think they're going to make more than they are.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Sure,
And I think the average flip, just as a guess, just from my experience, the average flip in Spokane might net 25, 30, 35,000 after it's all said and done.
Yep.
And then you're going to have to pay capital gains tax on that.
Yep.
Of course, we've had some flips that have made 70, 80,000, but those aren't the norm.
Yeah.
So just to kind of give a frame of reference, you have to determine for yourself, is it worth it?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
if it is, awesome. It's
Yep.
a lot of fun. I still do it, but not on a large scale.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do a handful of them a year, but I no longer want to be doing 5 flips at a time like I was at one point. That is something else. That's a job.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So with that, last question, specifically for you, Erin, somebody wants to go out, start flipping, all of that. What is the first step, the first action for them to take?
Yeah, just figure out how you're going to fund it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, in my opinion, the first thing you should do is start hustling yourself to find the deal.
Yeah.
Reaching out to a realtor right now in this market, they're going to have a tough time finding you a flip. Just being completely transparent. It's going to be really hard to find a house at that steep of a discount.
Yeah. If it's on the MLS, it's probably not a deal.
It's going to get bid up to where it doesn't make sense. So network, go to investor groups once those kick off again. Network with other people. Network with the wholesalers. Get a hold of them.
Drive for dollars.
All those things. You're just going to have to hustle, but figure out ahead of time what you're going to do to fund it. Maybe call a hard money company and just kind of get set up with them. So when you do find the deal, you're ready to go.
Yep. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, that wraps us up today for flipping. Thank you, Erin.
Yeah. Thank you guys both.
Yeah. All right. Until next time. Thanks, guys.